Voice of Nagaland News से अपने ये सबके स्वागत करे से viewers kan Voice of Nagaland News होता ही दिन अपने हान लोगों दे अलग अलग टॉपिक लोगे ना अमी खान चर्चा लोगे ना अपने हान लोगों दे आई थे आज भी Voice of Nagaland News एक ता चर्चा करो ले से और इधु चर्चा तो इशू ले दो एक ता important topic लगा ओपोटे अमी खान चर्चा करो ले से और अमी खान लोगों दे आई गे ना थका गेस्ट तो इशू ले दो एन इपोंगोचौबी ताई दो ले दो North East Indigenous People Forum लगा Secretary General इधर बोया से अमी खान इतिया burning issues तो আমি খান দেখিব পাৰি থাকাটো চৰ্চা চলি থাকাটো ইছ্যুলেতো ইনিচিয়েশ্যন অফ প্ৰাইভেট বিল ইন নাগালেণ্ড ষ্টেট এছেম্বলি লগা ওপৰতে চৰ্চা কৰিবলৈ আছে কোনটো ইছ্যুলেতো এইটো চৌকাই ডিক্লেৰেশ্যন লগা ওপৰতে হি পেছ কৰি না আমি খান কথা কৰি না চাই চাব তো ভিউৱাৰ্ছ খান আই পি এইটো কনভাৰচেশ্যন লগা ওপৰতে আমি খান কথা কৰি কিনা আপডেট লৈ কিনা আপুনি আনকে জনাই দিব থেংক ইউ so much sir voice of nagaland news ke time dia karni so before we begin with our topic can you kindly give us gist about Northeast Indigenous People Forum? How it was started, when it was started?
Thank you for inviting me for your channel. 2015-16, Idubra Northeast, all the NGOs, all the intellectuals, teachers, professors can idu kotha kori thake that Assam has its own problem of illegal immigration. और अपनी तो जाने त्रिपुरा तो ओरिजिनल त्रिपुरी तो माइनॉरिटी हुई से और मैखान इतु बुझिब लागे नॉर्थ ईस्ट पूरा स्टेट तो म्यांमार और बांग्लादेश तो बेसी डांगोर बाउंड्री आसे इंटरनेशनल बाउंड्री मैखान इतु एड्रेस न करिले if we do not have our own strong legislative or law to at least check or counter or to see that there are no illegal immigrations in a regular basis. Iman lamba boundary thaka tham to if we do not have a good strong administration we are going to have this problem. So in 2017 about 1000 to 2000 delegates from all the states we gathered in Guwahati. Idubra finally decision luise that let us have an open forum. Then it became Northeast Indigenous Peoples Forum in 2017. Although we have had rounds of meetings 2-3 years before, choto program kurikana ato at least 2017, so we formally decided that we should have an open forum with the representation of all the states, at least to have a common platform, at least to understand what are the problems that we commonly face of the indigenous people, how we can protect our own indigenous people, indigenous culture, our land, our tradition, our customary laws. Idubra 2017 de shuru hoise. After that, all the states under the banner of the Northeast Indigenous Peoples Forum, slowly Nagaland chapter, Manipur chapter, Meghalaya chapter, inika kholise. The Nagaland also has now the chapter of the Northeast Indigenous Peoples Forum and they are very actively working. Nagaland Indigenous Peoples Forum. The vice president, the vice chairman of the Northeast Indigenous People was supposed to be here with me. He had to attend to a very urgent meeting in Gaspani. So he left about half an hour ago, Mr. Kyoto Su. He is also the advisor to the Nagaland chapter of the Northeast Indigenous Peoples Forum. Recently in Jokai, that was in the month of March, we had our third conference. The second conference was held in Difubar. The first conference was held in Guwahati. When we had our second conference in Difubar, we also had Difubar Declaration. So we had very good declarations when delegates from all over the Northeast we gathered here. Harmonious coexistence of all the indigenous people was one of the strong focus that we had in that meeting. At the same time, we also saw the challenges of how indigenous people are suffering from the influx of whether it is legal, illegal, the economic exploit, the political exploit from the stronger section of the country and outside the country, and we are marginalized. Very fortunately, in Jokai, when we had the third conference, representatives, delegates from the entire Northeast, we had three major points. The third declaration was very important. The third declaration, it stated to urge all the northeastern states to open a Department of Indigenous Affairs. What would Department of Indigenous Affairs should do in their respective states is to be decided by their own respective states. Manu, itu UN, United Nations indigenous to kinika define kore. Latin America te indigenous kinika define kore. Australia te indigenous kinika define kore. So far in India, there is no proper legal definition indigenous ki ase. Will it be Northeast Indigenous Forum Kwato, Nagaland state should define what is indigenous in the context of Nagaland. Manipur also should be able to decide, define, and categorize who are the indigenous people. Ever since the declaration of the Jokai, the Northeast Indigenous Peoples Forum representatives and all the members of the Nagaland Indigenous Peoples Forum, we have been collaborating, we have been working together to see that the members of the Legislative Assembly of Nagaland, they understand our causes, our issues, and the imminent threats that we would see in the future. Makhalaga future generation to ki dangerous hai. Protect na korato. Dimapur is, I think, already having a big challenge of people coming from outside Nagaland. Ekta kotha to Nagaland pra a bahar manuto Indian asena foreigner ase. Itu bhi moikhan na jane. Apni moikhan laga viewer te ekta kobo Myanmar. Burma to basi dangor country ase. Within Myanmar to lot of ethnic conflicts, lot of violence happening. From there, displaced Myanmar to first to never te hi aibo, they will come to Arunachal. You'll be surprised that Arunachal alone shares an international border with Myanmar more than 520 kilometers. Manipur alone shares a border with Myanmar about 398 kilometers. Nagaland about 215 kilometers. Mizoram about 510 kilometers. It is not possible for the Indian security personnel and both the state personnel to check such 1,643 long international border with Myanmar. Forget about Bangladesh. Now, from Myanmar, people are displaced because of the conflict in their own country. However, we feel that there is a systematic and well-planned exodus of Myanmar population to the neighboring states, Arunachal, Manipur, Nagaland, or Mizoram Nisina. Taikhanto wapas jabo na jabo, itu moikhan na jane. Now, these so-called illegal immigrations or illegal infiltrators, taikhan laga to survival issue ase na. So whenever there is an issue of survival, they will do anything. They will either look at the loopholes of the country to bribe people to get an Aadhaar card, to get a passport. And our system is so weak. The Indian system is so weak. Most importantly, I wouldn't say weak, but we are politically not committed. This is the right time for all the states to wake up. You have seen the problem in Manipur, and you wouldn't know, we cannot say that you might have a similar problem in other states later. You cannot deny the fact in Manipur that there are illegal immigrants from the neighboring countries. Even the Director General of Assam Rifles recently was quoted of having to say that there are thousands of people who have come from the neighboring countries and they have never gone back. Now, These are issues that Nagaland might also face later. The vice chairman of the Northeast Indigenous Peoples Forum, Mr. Kyoto Su, and myself, soon after the Jokai Declaration, we called on many honorable members of the assembly, particularly Khozelozo Nenu. When we called on him, he was happy. We apprised him about the imminent threat of the indigenous people. We were very excited. We were very happy. And when he was willing to take up the matter in the forthcoming Nagaland State Assembly election, which will be on 2nd and 4th in the month of September, which is just a week away. We would be looking forward to how the state of Nagaland would debate on that issue. We should also understand that it is not the foreign invasion or the people coming from outside. Manukun ko ato moikanto, we are not progressive. We are against development, and we are against other people. Itu kotha noy. Moikhan bujibo lage that people from Nagaland, people from Manipur, we are competent, and our younger generations, they're all well equipped in every discipline. However, to compare with the mainland India, we definitely are lagging behind in many things, whether it is economical or political or social, whatsoever it is. So unless we secure the coming generations to offer a level playing field to compete with the rest of the country, our children should have the right ground to protect themselves, at least from the economic perspective too. When we said that there are thousands of crores of rupees coming from the central projects, many developmental projects, and many of the states in the Northeast, we also rely on the budget given by the center. However, Moikhan Kuato, apni local indigenous people development process te stakeholders asenake. Are we a part of that growth? Are we a stakeholder in anything that is happening? When the big giants come to Nagaland, when the big giants, big business houses come to Nagaland, Manipur, Tripura, there are certain issues that even if it is an open tender, our capacity, the people of this area, northeastern region, they do not have the capacity to compete. We are not against any giant companies coming into this area. However, there are areas how we can collaborate and we be a part of this very nation. Our indigenous people should be a stakeholder. We cannot be a simple carrier when huge traffics travel. Thousands of crores of rupees going on the highway. Are the indigenous people of this region a partner to it? Certainly not. It is a big giants coming and taking away. Of course, that would sound very mean. We are not being mean. We should have a law. We should have a certain bill initiated by our own respective states in the entire northeastern region to see that our indigenous people become a part, be a stakeholder in any developmental project or anything that comes in to this part of the country. Apni itu moikhan itu kwa time te barmanu kwa to you are xenophobic, you are closing your door. Itu kotha noy. We have to understand that we are in some way lagging behind in many areas, whether it is business or whether it is competitiveness. The Nagaland MLAs, like Mr. Azo, when we tried to explain this issue, he was impressed and he was saying that yes, our next generations, many generations to come, they need to be somehow by law ensured that we are part and partial of any project or anything that comes to our state. For example, you have skill development. The Moy Khan Infal Dimapur to up and down, Jato, right from our school days we have been going up and down. Our only exit to the rest of the country was via Dimapur only. Moikhan school para time te, college para time te, bus loikina Dimapur aibo, Dimapur para train loikina Delhi jabo, Bangalore jabo, and many of them are still doing it. So we have also seen how there are certain changes that Nagaland also has been witnessing. And very off and on, we see in the newspaper that we have a lot of illegal immigrants coming into Nagaland. I just will quote you one thing. When you have a long international border with Bangladesh, it is about 4,096 kilometers. West Bengal and Bangladesh, they share more than 2,000 kilometers. I think it is about 22,200 something. Assam has 262 kilometers with Bangladesh. Meghalaya has 443 kilometers. Mizoram has 318 kilometers. Tripura has 856. Now, this long 4,000 kilometers of boundary with Bangladesh, anybody coming from Bangladesh as a displaced person because of the conflict in Bangladesh is a different issue. Whether they will go back or they will not go back, it is also a challenge. But escaping from their own country to find a better place. Manukhan ko ato, we are very simple. Northeastern to, bisi hospitable ase. We will invite anybody. But in the long run to, business hoile bhi, political demographic profile hoile bhi, change hoile to, moi khan laga, bacha khan laga, economic right, political right to deprive hoi jabo na. So unless we have a law, unless we have a department to ensure, we are not experts. Northeast Indigenous Peoples Forum, it's an open forum. Moi bhi to journalists ase, some are lawyers, some are different people are coming from different walks of life. But we are worried. The initiative of the Honorable MLA Mr. Azo to at least to start a dialogue, a discussion in the Nagaland Assembly under Rule 50, it is a historic chapter for the entire Northeast. And we are desperately waiting the outcome of this discussion. Moi can't be expert noy kini ka indigenous people suffer korea se illegal immigration kitna kiman ase economic deprival to kini ka ase. Say I was talking to another colleague of mine yesterday. About 2 years ago, when we came to Dimapur, say from South Mile to DC office, there were 3 shops, for example. In 2 years, there are 30 shops. And all the shops of bakery, they are all owned by a community which is never an indigenous person. So it was systematic economic development, it will influence, so we will not realize that you are buying your bread and butter every day from a shop, from a chain of well-determined onslaught of investment by a team. Azito na buzibo. But after 5 years, after 10 years, we will be reduced to the state of hopelessness. So the Northeast Indigenous Peoples Forum, Nagaland Indigenous Peoples Forum, bisi khushi paise Nagaland 4th September te ito discuss koribo. Aro moi khan laga humble request to, moi khan be expert noy. We look forward to a kind of a special committee constituted by the Nagaland Assembly. Aro Nagaland te bhi bisi scholars ase. Nagaland, we have ample eminent scholars. Or academics bhi ase, economists bhi ase, anthropologists bhi ase. Nagaland to bisi civil organizations bhi ase. Ek sath boy kini ito introduction of this new bill by Honorable Member Azo to kini ka future generation laga ki law ki nutun law inek korikina kini ka indigenous population to security, sense of security, sense of participation, not to suffer from the onslaught of big tycoons from outside. Aji, if you don't discuss this today, some generations to come after a few years, we see the imminent threat. We see how our children will suffer. I'll give you one simple example. There are many highways coming up in Nagaland. There are many highways coming up in the entire Northeast. There are many mega projects to the tune of 1,000 crore, 5,000 crore. It is the money the central government is investing so that we have growth, we have development. When our people are not able to compete to take that contract because it is a huge, and to be able to take a contract of 1,000 crore, you should have that minimum requirement. Will it be how indigenous department will ensure that our young entrepreneurs at different macro level should be collaborated to be a stakeholder. Just giving a small example, to be a part of any developmental national project so that we are economically powered also. This is one important thing. And secondly, when a lot of outsiders come, there is a change in the demographic profile. And when you have a demographic profile which is changing in a very fast pace, you are depriving the political right of the indigenous people. So, Mulaga Kotha to Northeast Indigenous Peoples Forum, Nagaland Indigenous Peoples Forum would be delighted, that longer discussion should continue. When one honorable MLA is initiating under Rule 50, they will get a maximum time of 1 hour, 2 hours as allowed by the honorable speaker. However, since it is started, and since the people of Nagaland also felt or also still feel that there is a threat, there is a danger of the local population, not only by physical presence, but also in the day-to-day, morning to evening, to right to business activities, which is very important. Our local people, our indigenous people, right from morning till evening, they should have a role to play somewhere in every aspect of the development. So whether it is education, whether it is health, whether it is horticulture, whether it is art and culture. Say, for example, if the Nagaland government comes out with a new definition of what is indigenous within the context of Nagaland, I'm sure all the tribes in Nagaland, how many tribes are, as per the Gazette in Nagaland, around 20 tribes, 17 tribes are there, 18, including now. There are also some tribes which are also not recognized, but the government of Nagaland, I think, recognized first 16, 17 of late. Now, all these tribes, as defined by the Constitution of India, they are tribes. However, they are indigenous and they have their own cultural root. They have their own age-old ancient traditions. Defining indigenous by those roots would be important as an example for the remaining states. If an outsider cannot define his parent, cannot define his grandparents, cannot define his great-grandfather's place in Nagaland, though he or she might be a resident of Nagaland, they cannot be called an indigenous person. Being a citizen is different. Being a tribal is different. Being a legitimate member of the citizen of Nagaland is different. However, indigenous is a different perspective how the people of Nagaland should define. After this session, we would like academics to come into it. We would like scholars to give assistance. We would like to give all the civil organizations of all the tribes. You have very strong ho-hos in Nagaland. All the communities have strong ho-hos. They should be able to define their own respective tribes as the original inhabitants of Nagaland in some way or the other. And this is how we look at it. And all the states, particularly Manipur, Assam, or whether it is Meghalaya or Arunachal Pradesh, we are waiting for the debate that will happen on 2nd or 4th of the Nagaland Assembly. We are very keenly watching because we have thoroughly discussed in our Jokai conference, and we have been discussing on the issue of indigenous people, how we protect ourselves, how we are a part of the growth, how we should be a stakeholder in every single uh, process of growth so that we are economically, politically empowered. These are common issues that we have to understand ourselves. And following the Jokai Declaration, we have called on the Honorable Chief Minister of Nagaland, Sir Neipf. I myself, then the Vice Chairman of the Northeast Indigenous Peoples Forum, the advisor of the Nagaland chapter, Mr. Kyoto Su, Candid, the Vice President of the Nagaland chapter. We called on the Honorable Chief Minister, I think, on the eve of Christmas last year. He was very busy those days. Very fortunately, when we requested him, he gave us ample time and we could express our heart and mind to him. He also felt the need to somehow have a law for Nagaland. Nagaland already had discussed about RIN. RIN or whatever the department or the Directorate of Indigenous Affairs could have a similar thing. Our objective is we should think for our next generation, the third generation, fourth generations. By law, we should be able to preserve our age-old traditions, conserve our age-old traditions, socio-cultural norms. At the same time, we should be defining our future through a law by opening a department or a directorate of Indigenous Affairs, which can, in fact, widen its dimension to almost all the departments. It should be the door or the window to all the major and minor departments of the state, this department, because everything has to come through the indigenous, whether how you build the syllabus of the school, how you build the hospitals, how you build the colleges. These are different perspectives as to how we would like to empower the people of this state to ensure that we have our head held high to be able to compete, not only within the state, outside the state, at the state level, at the international level, whether it is sports, education, IT, any sector. Even in the so-called in the expansion of the industrial world, the indigenous people should also be able to compete and shine from that perspective, and we should lay the ground for the people.
As you have mentioned, the core issues is a massive influx of illegal immigrants in our northeast state, and you have also mentioned regarding about the challenges, how the state-wise face the influx of illegal immigration and how it is dominating economically as well as how they are expanding in a very rapid manner and affecting our demographic structure. So since you have also mentioned regarding about creation of Department of Indigenous Affairs, which is yet to be debated on Nagaland Legislative Assembly also and the other parts of the assembly. So according to you, this private bill, how it is going to benefit the indigenous people of this northeast state, and in order to check the massive influx of these illegal immigrants?
When we grow up, when a human body grows up, there are many diseases outside, and we should have an inherent inbuilt strong resistance, which the kind of resistance that within we ourselves have, physically and spiritually, we cannot be influenced upon by evil thoughts, and our immune system is strong, so we fight the common diseases. Our perspective is, if we have a directorate or a Department of Indigenous Affairs, it should open. In fact, day before yesterday, one of my friends called me up after Kazaluzo Ninu, when he said that he would be happy to collaborate with the Northeast Indigenous Peoples Forum to understand the issue. Some of my friends called me saying that you have opened a Pandora's box. A lot of things are coming after our Jokai Declaration. From that perspective, I think at least we have been able to strike a light and giving a hope, giving a light to other people to awaken. And we also do not claim that we are experts in providing solutions. As I mentioned earlier, we should be able to open our heart and mind to invite indigenous people understand our problem together. And when we are able to understand our problem together, the 50% of the solution has already been deduced, has derived because we have understood our problem. When we have a strong mechanism, when we have a strong immune system, at least by law and by commitment and with the political will, with the participation of the indigenous people right from the grassroots level, whether it is the block level, the district level, or the state level. That is why we also said that all the districts now should have its own indigenous groups to now at least to start a dialogue and discussion for our future generation. We are not solution providers, but at least now we have been able to give a light, give a thought, so that people now start at least a dialogue. People are now discussing openly as to how Nagaland is suffering or Manipur is suffering. So from that perspective, though we do not have a ready-made solution as to how we can resolve or solve the illegal infiltration or the illegal population coming to our states, at least we can start thinking about it, building a strong immune system administratively with a strong political will, with the participation of the people. Now, people are willing to participate. And that law will definitely be a facilitator. So we hope and we believe that Nagaland State Assembly is leading the people of the entire Northeast by initiating such a debate, such a discussion in the Assembly. And of course, we are not very sure of how the honorable MLAs would be taking part, but we are delighted, as I mentioned, we are very happy that something has begun. I think at least, though we do not celebrate, but we are enlightened, we are happy, and definitely we are elated to see that honorable MLAs from Nagaland, they have been calling me up, they have been calling our colleagues to at least to give contents, to give data as to how we can take active part in this discussion. We have also requested that the first discussion is not the ultimate end. A committee can be constituted under the leadership of an able minister or an able MLA, and they can have a series of discussion within the time frame. There should be a time frame, and things can change. At least we can have a beginning. That beginning is a light to other states, and we also would like to follow the path of what Nagaland might take up in our own respective states. This is how we are very eagerly awaiting the 2nd and 4th of September.
Thank you so much, sir. Voice of Nagaland News के time देगी ना अपनी मम्माल बरा अमिहाला viewers kan ge holibi aro public के why इदु लगा factor दो इदु bill दो किले important আছে aro ami khan की challenges face करो लेसे आगे दे आया aha generation khan इदु आलो पड़े ami khan के elaborate करेगी ना ami khan के फाल बरा educate करा बरा अपनी के बिशी things जानई दे से. Thank you so much, sir.
And on behalf of the Northeast Indigenous Peoples Forum and the Nagaland Indigenous Peoples Forum, we also sincerely thank your channel for reaching out to different viewers, not only in Nagaland but throughout the country through your channel. We hope that at least the people of Nagaland and the people of the entire Northeast should wake up by such debates through your channel. Once again, thank you so much.